Mel, let's get to the nub of it. The result, I don't think, was what any of us expected, and for you, that must have come with a bit of a choker after the pre-season that you had.
Yeah, it was really disappointing. I think I mentioned it after the game. I just didn't see it coming. Off the back of a positive pre-season. The same team beat Everton 2-1 a couple of weeks before. So overall, it was really disappointing. And there's been some tough reflections. I think it's not a nice viewing watching it back and critiquing and really identifying where and how things went wrong. But we've done that. We've boxed it off. We've drew a line under it, and we have to move on. And we have to now be positive and go into Southampton, flying and determined to put things right.
How difficult was it to sort of have that review and look at, as you said after the match, you've got to look at what you planned, your processes and everything. Was that difficult? Because there's a danger that you can go too far and change things that perhaps ultimately don't need changing.
Yeah, I think it's always, you can accept defeat, but I think the manner that it happened, it was probably the most disappointing. I thought Birmingham were really good. I thought we were really bad. So, that's somewhere in the middle. But yeah, we've had some good reflections in terms of staff. The players have been really open, honest and vulnerable in front of each other. And like we say, we have to park them emotions now. We can't keep feeling like we did. We give ourselves 24 hours and then we've moved on. So, they've had 2 good sessions on the grass so far this week, and we're excited to get back in front of our home fans on Sunday.
I mean, do you look at it too as well? I think Birmingham, they didn't have the greatest of starts last season, but they actually ultimately were one of the best teams in the division. So they are in that mould, if you like, moving on from where they were last season. So they were a good team.
Yeah, they're a solid team, full of international players as well. And look, it was a bad day at the office. It's we're hopefully going to make that the best thing that ever happens to her. It's a real kick up the backside, and like I said, they're determined to put things right and put on a performance that we can be proud of.
You last pre-season were very, very conscious of the team spirit and the bonding and bringing everybody together, and presumably you've done the same this pre-season because it's been quite an extended pre-season. Is it still the case there's some new faces in the camp who are still adjusting, still coming to terms with playing here?
Yeah, possibly. Some of the new signings came in later in terms of the pre-season, but we played the back end of the pre-season, so we'd still expect them to kind of be up to speed with what we want. Yeah, we've had a good pre-season. The team's together. We've got each other's backs. We're in it together. Only us can dig ourselves out of the little hole that we've found ourselves in on Sunday. So, we're fully behind each other going into Sunday.
And your home and the team that you saw quite a lot of last season as well. I mean, presumably they've made changes to a different Southampton.
Yeah, they've made a few changes. Obviously, changed their manager as well. And it's a tough league. There's some really strong teams in it, and we've got to be prepared as always. But we've also got to be up for the challenge and making sure we bring the best version of ourselves on the game day.
Because you've only got the number of games you actually play in the Championship is not a huge number. We talk about the men's game. You look at 10 games in as a barometer of how you can do, but you haven't got that luxury in a sense, have you?
No, it's really difficult. You think you've got 19 games left. Very, very short league campaign, spanned over probably a long period of time, so we have to make every game count, and we don't want to feel like we did last weekend, and that's the motivation going into the game.
And Appleton, is that somewhere you can just make it difficult for teams coming there? Because I don't think most teams are comfortable playing there.
Yeah, well, it's our home. We feel comfortable there, and that's the most important thing. And we hope that there's a big crowd there to get behind the team, because the team perform well in front of their own fans. We know that they're our 12th player, so we need them to get behind the team on Sunday and hopefully cheer on 3 points.
Do you think there might be a bit of a rub-off from the men's team doing well at the minute? Isn't there a feel-good factor around the club?
Yeah, potentially. you know, we never know sometimes what, you know, we've sold a lot of season tickets, but ultimately people still have to turn up. So, you know, I've been told there's going to be some flag displays as well. So that's great that local businesses are getting behind the team. So yeah, we're going into it in good spirits and, you know, determined to put things right. Yes.
Well, it's the sort of scoreline on the opening day that provokes an emotional response from people like supporters. Obviously, you've got to come up with a professional response. So what has that professional response to it look like?
I think in terms of, you know, what we want to see is a Sunderland performance, what it looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like. We know internally what the standards are and what we need to get to, and we've analysed what wasn't present on Sunday, and ultimately why we came away empty-handed. So, like I said, we've watched the game back as a team. We've watched it back in units in terms of defence, midfield, forwards, and then kind of come together and had some really strong, powerful conversations and open and honest. I think that's really important, that the players can critique and share feedback to each other. And you know, we've got 19 games left, and we're going into Sunday to, you know, like I said, determined to put things right.
I suppose this is a point where you just need to trust what you do, what your processes are, and what you've been doing for the last however many games. Yeah,
we certainly need to be harder to beat. You know, it was too easy on Sunday for Birmingham to get through us. So, you know, first and foremost, we need to put in a solid defensive display. You know, that was pivotal last year in terms of how hard we were for teams to come and play against us. So we'll certainly be looking at our defending principles, but likewise we've got to be better on the ball in order, you know, you don't need to defend if you've got the ball. So you know, both sides of our games being critiqued this week, and you know, the players are focused on putting it right.
Mel, hi.
Hi.
Just inevitably picking up on earlier points, but extremely early days, of course. Is it better on balance, if you're going to get that kick up the backside that you described, is it better to have it earlier than say 5 or 10 games in?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you know, it's one defeat. You know, we're determined to get some points on the board early doors, of course we are, but you know, we've lost one game. It's not the end of the world. But it was more so the manner in which it came was the most disappointing. But yeah, like I keep saying, like we just can't wait for Sunday to get back on the pitch in front of our fans to try and get some points on the board.
And in terms of the overall standard of the league, the balance of it, how hard it's going to be to get out of this year, obviously hopes were high last year. Do you see it as being a harder prospect than last season, or about the same perhaps?
I definitely think it's harder. I think I said that last week. And you know, you'll probably see over the next 4 or 5 weeks the league will start to take shape in terms of where people are in the league, and you know, ultimately it's just one game at a time for us, and see where we are. You know, in certain moments we normally kind of judge ourselves once we hit the international break. It's probably middle of October. 7-8 games played, we'll see where we're at, and that's a third of the season played already. So yeah, it goes quick.
So if there's one thing that you would say you have to work on between now and that 1/3 point of the season, what might it be?
You know, I think there's a bigger piece than just picking one thing. But you know, ultimately, if you're a solid defensive outfit, then you're going to pick up points along the way.
Thank you.
Does it give you confidence that it's so unlike what the team have produced for 12 months, or is it concerning that it's so far away? I mean, what's the kind of balance there?
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably a good question, isn't it? I think it's out of character. You know, I think the squad's strong and it's competitive, and I think it was a one-off, and I'm hoping it was a one-off, and ultimately, you know, we've all reflected and you know, looked at how we could maybe have done better as a team. You know, the staff, the game plan, the players executing the game plan. It's, you know, we're in it together, and it was a tough pill to swallow, but you know, we've got each other's backs and we're ready to go.
Do you think it might be a little bit of a wake-up call in the level you had to be at every game last year, and then you talked about the league getting harder and how good Birmingham are, it doesn't take a lot to fall away from your level for it to get quite ugly? Do you think it's maybe a little bit of a wake-up call? Yeah, I do. I think it's so important that you don't take anything for granted, in that you've got to show up
and you've got to bring a good 9 out of 10 performance every week in order to get something out of this league, because it's really difficult. Everyone's trying to win, and there's no easy games.
What's the balance for you in terms of putting to bed and looking forward? If we go in, I might need to change things up a bit because we just lost 5-0. The flip side being the majority of the squad nearly won this league last year, and they're not reflective of that individual.
Yeah, I think I just need to, watch and analyse the players this week in training to make sure I see the things that I want to see at the weekend, and the players know that, and to be fair, they've come out this week on the grass and they're determined. You can see that they're really trying to put things right, and the intensity has been good, the focus has been good. So I'll make that decision in a few days in terms of the personnel that steps out.
And just lastly, I know you won't give much away in terms of Sunday's game, but your captain obviously came off with an injury last week. Is that a serious one? Is it hopeful that it's not going to be?
I think she's a doubt, to be honest. Yeah. I think she's a doubt. She got like an impact injury to her calf, a bit like a dead leg. So she's not been on the grass yet. So we'll just, we'll leave that call right till Saturday to see what she's like.
Thank you.
No worries.
Just when you talk about that, the kind of debrief and everything, clearly there'll be analytical things that you and your staff around you are pointing out to the players, but to what extent do you encourage them to take the leadership of that and almost lead themselves in the reaction to it rather than having to be told?
I think there's some real good detail in the unit meetings, so we'll split them into 3 units. Each member of staff will take a specific unit. We'll pull together maybe 10, 12 clips linked to kind of how we wanted them to play, with the ball, without the ball, and then it'll stimulate a conversation.
Yeah.
So they're in a safe space, they're with all the peers in that unit, and they'll obviously be guided by the member of staff that's with them. And when we kind of bring all the units back together to analyse it as a team, they're then talking to the other units, so the defenders are talking to the midfield, look, we might have needed you to do this in this instance, and they're learning and they're aware tactically of how we want them to play. And I think that only makes the relationship stronger, because they're now kind of knowing what each other need off each other on the pitch.